All right, and now let's see how we can read URL parameters. And as a result, we'll have some dynamic pages. And for this, I just want you to imagine a products page where we display a bunch of products. And then once we click on that one specific product, we display it in a separate page. However, here's the key. I don't want to set up a separate page for every product that I have. It makes more sense for me to set up one page, which is going to act as a placeholder, and then I'll just get the data that I need to display. So that way I can use the same page, for example, for 1,000 products or 3,000, and hopefully you see where I'm going with this. And in order to set up URL parameters, you want to go with this colon, and then whatever the parameter name. Call this shake and bake, call this vegan food truck. In my case, since we'll display products, I just thought it's going to make more sense if I'm going to go with colon and then product ID. But this name is really up to you. Now, as far as this URL, this can be straight up like so, where we go with colon and product ID. This can be product stats and then product ID. Again, this part is really up to you. I just thought that going with products and then product ID is going to make more sense. And before we begin, I also want to quickly mention that yes, you can set up that nested structure like we did over here for a product and product ID as well. I just went with this setup for two reasons. First, I really want to focus on the URL params, and I think it's going to be better if we use this setup. So that way it's easier for us. We don't need to do this whole song and dance. And second, I also want to showcase that if you don't have the shared layout, which in this case we won't, you don't always have to use that approach. You can also use this approach as well, where you go with whatever is the main URL. And then in here specifically, we go with this dynamic option. Hopefully that is clear. So first, let's navigate right now to app.js and get that single product. So if we take a look at the pages, there is already a single product, just a heading 2. So why don't we, in the app.js, first of all, set it up, and I'll do that right after the product. So let's go with route, then path, then we'll go with product, and then that product ID. And you'll see that it is essentially a property. So again, we can name it whatever we want. So we go with colon product ID. And then what is going to be the placeholder? Well, we want to go with element, and then we want to go with that single product, which hopefully is going to work, but it doesn't look like it. So that's why sometimes this auto import is annoying, because it doesn't work. So let me save this. And yes, of course I have the error. So let me go here with import and then single product like so. And that is coming from, and we're looking in the pages, I believe, right? And then we have single product. So now everything works. We have that single product. And now if we go to URL, and if we just type whatever gibberish we want, so eventually there's going to be actual data because I already prepared for you. But let's say if we type 123, we have single product. If we type, I don't know, 333, we'll also get that single product. So that's the placeholder we're going to use. So now let's navigate to the single product, and let's take a look how we can access it. So this is the setup where we go with that colon and then whatever is going to be the parameter name. So in my case, product ID. Now, if we need to access it, we need to get the hook from React Router DOM. So use params, and we'll also get the link. And then we want to invoke that hook. And notice how this name now needs to match whatever we have over here. So as long as they match, you'll be in good shape. And then for the time being, let's just display it. And let's navigate back to the main product page. So let's set this one up where I don't think I'll need style navbar anymore, but I do want to navigate to single product. Like I said, we're going to be looking for two things. We're going to get the link first, and also we want to get that hook. use param, which is going to access those parameters in the URL. Then all of that is coming from React, and yep, this is not correct. We need to go with import. My apologies, not const. So let's go with React router DOM. Then as far as the return, first we want to grab that product ID. And you know what, as a side note, why don't we do this? Why don't we just log this sucker? So let's say here, use params, and you'll clearly see what am I talking about. So let's invoke this, and then let's navigate to the console and check it out. We have the object, and what do you know? We have product ID 333. So if we'll change this around 1, 2, 3, then of course that value will be also 1, 2, 3. So now we want to pull this out from the use params from the object. So let's go with product and then ID. Now that is equal to use params. Let's invoke it. And like I said, let's set up that link back to the product. Of course, if you want, you can navigate also back home, but I guess it's going to be back to the products, back to product. And then where we have right now the single product, for time being, let's go with heading 4, and let's display the ID. So let's say here, product, and then ID. Let's save it and check it out. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Again, if we'll change this around to 4, 5, 6, 7, then this is going to be the value. So next video, we'll iterate over the products that I provided in, I believe, data.js. We'll render all of them in the products page. And then from there, we'll set up a single product page as well.